Having discussed the various arguments that have been offered in favour of the existence of God, I asked Colin to summarise some of the best reasons for not believing.
Well, the classic argument against is the problem of evil. This is, even religious people find this one very uncomfortable. So the argument is simply God is meant to be a being who is all-knowing, all-powerful, and all-good. So how come there is suffering and pain in the world? Right? Why does God allow it? God, obviously, if he's all good, thinks it's bad that this should occur, would rather it didn't occur, right? Like any decent person would rather it didn't occur, and yet he lets it occur. Now, that would be okay if he didn't have the power to change it, but he's meant to be all-powerful. We're told by religious people he intervenes all the time in various ways. So why doesn't he intervene to prevent the death of a child, or the torture of a prisoner? He doesn't do it. So you don't want to conclude from that, well, God is actually quite a bad person. That's a conceivable conclusion you might draw. But what you conclude from it is the combination of these two characteristics is inconsistent. He's all good and he's all powerful. You need all knowing too, of course, because he has to know it's going on. But it's essentially the conflict between being all good and all powerful and the existence of evil. And the standard reply to that, the apologists of religion will give the reply, God created human beings with free will. Now, there's the question, why did he do that, knowing the results were going to be horrific? That was a pretty wicked thing to do, to start with. But let's put that one aside. But the problem with that argument is not all of the suffering in the world comes from the exercise of human will. Much of it comes from human natural catastrophes or disease, accidents, all sorts of things can cause tremendous suffering in humans. Somebody's born with a genetic disease. No human being had any role whatsoever in creating that. That comes from nature, God's creation, of course, we're told. So God created a world in which it was inevitable there'd be tremendous suffering on the part of completely innocent human beings.
But there might be religious arguments to the effect that he created this obstacle course for his created creatures endowed with free will in order to bring out the best in them.
And I always find this one, to me, it brings out to me the sort of hard-hearted, immoral side of this way of thinking about things. Because just think about what's being said when somebody says that. You've got the innocent child with some terrible disease, and God's up there saying to himself, I really need to test some people here. They need to put the obstacle course needs to be put there. Let me pick on this little 2-year-old girl, put her through this terrible ordeal, and I'll test the other people. If any human being said to you that's what they'd done, suppose I decided, in my wisdom, I need to test some people here. I need to improve their moral characters. So I'm going to do this terrible thing to their child, You'd think I was the wickedest person in the world to do that. Well, why isn't God? If that's what God does, I have no respect for him. I think that's a wicked thing to do. God shouldn't do that. If God cares about human beings, he should not allow that to happen.